Hello and welcome to Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. I'm Becky Parker Geist and I'm your host. Audiobook Connection is your place to learn about the audiobook creative process and for authors to learn valuable tips on producing and marketing your audiobooks. This podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Hello, thanks for joining me. Today we're going to take a look at what you can do with clips from your audiobooks. The first question might be, why would I want to do that? Well, the main thing is to create audiograms that you can use in social media and other marketing, places like a YouTube channel, TikTok. And of course, if you're on TikTok, be sure to use the Book Talk hashtag and to check out our episodes that are specifically about book talk. Keep in mind that marketing is not a one and done. It's not a sprint. It is a marathon. But the good news is that even if you're walking, even if you're crawling, it's better than standing still. So doing something, especially on a consistent basis, is always going to be better than doing nothing at all in terms of your marketing. So first of all, we're going to talk about the selection of your audio clips, how to choose which clips to use and how much. The main thing you want to consider, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, is that you want to provide value. That might be information or it might be entertainment, whether you're engaging the mind or moving the heart, stirring those emotions. All of that is valuable to us as people. And so, ideally, the clips that you choose will lean into that kind of value that you'll be delivering. When we're talking about nonfiction, there are typically several different ways to find those ideal clips that you may want to pull from your audiobook. For example, if in your book you provide tips, these can be really great short pieces that you can pull out and will stand well on their own. Remember that you always want to give away your best stuff. Give away your best tips. It's a way of letting people know you have so much to offer. Another easy way to look at a nonfiction book, if you have pull-out quotes or, pull-outs from the book that are quoting the rest of your text, those can be really great because they are typically the kind of standalone, grab attention kind of pieces that are helping you in the layout of your book. These are also, naturally are going to make great audiograms. Another thing to consider is if you have some short sidebars. Similar to tips, these sidebars are standalone pieces that may be really useful as an audiogram. Even subsections of your book, especially if you can pull either a portion of one or a whole one if they are short, so that you can provide a concise but complete kind of piece of information. If you have exercises in your book, a short exercise or even a part of an exercise could be a good piece to include. And similarly, stimulating questions. Many times in nonfiction, you may have some questions that you want your reader to think about, and these can be really great as that kind of engaging the mind content. So again, with all of these things, we're looking for content that is going to provide value to the listener when that's all that they have in the moment, is that one piece. If you can have a listener, or in this case, if you're creating an audiogram, so there's also a visual component, then whoever's watching your video, listening to your video, whichever it is, that you're providing something that is going to give them something to take away from it. One of the benefits of that, of course, is that they're going to be more interested, more drawn to your full audiobook content. Now, taking a look at what you might do if you are writing in fiction. Now, of course, we want to avoid any spoilers. That's a natural. But providing a great scene, some good dialogue, a moment of suspense, a description of a place or a character that really shows off your writing. These can be very entertaining, very engaging for our listeners. So these are the kinds of things that you want to be looking for in your audiobook, or listening for, I guess I should say. And in terms of how to find these, you can certainly go through and listen to your audiobook and listen for them. You can also go through the written text to help you find them because you can probably scan more quickly that way. When you do find them, always, if you're listening to the audio, make sure that you note down where in the track that audio piece starts. Get the timestamp. That's very helpful. Now, the other piece of creating an audiogram, because an audiogram, if you remember, is a short video. Typically, it's a single image, but it might be an active image, some kind of animation. It could be a full, video live action piece. It could be as simple as just your book cover. So again, visuals can be anything from your book cover, which is a great thing to include, if nothing else, to illustrations that may be within your book or may be related to your book. That might include your headshot as an author, especially if it's a memoir. With memoirs, you can also, many times there will be photos, old photos in those, and that certainly could be a way to help create your audiogram video. Okay, we're going to take just a short pause, and then we're going to come back and talk about how you get these audio clips from your audiobook. If your past vanished, who might you become? Hannah, a 46-year-old author plagued with anxiety, and her partner, James, an HR recruiter caught in a headlock of grief over his brother's death, are as desperate for inner peace as they are clueless about how to find it. But when they embark on a sunny bike ride shortly after moving to the San Francisco Bay Area, a split-second decision propels them into different versions of their lives, ones they don't recognize as their own. With a mental fog obscuring their recent past and who they were, they are forced to dig inside themselves to figure out who they are now. Surprising discoveries about the nature of the universe send them on a psychological journey towards who they can be. But will they be able to let go of their deeply ingrained subconscious beliefs about life and themselves to embrace the unfamiliar potentials they now face? Get your copy of The Left Turn, 2 Lives, Worlds Apart, Book 1 in the Split Universe series at bit.ly/Geist-SU1. That's bit.ly/GEIST-SU, the number 1. Okay, so now you've figured out, what clips you want. Now the question is, how do you get them? How do you make this happen? Well, if you had an audiobook producer, I would say start with asking them. It's best if you can tell them the timestamp, like I said before. Tell them the timestamp or how far into the chapter you are on the audio track as displayed on whatever audio player you're using. These days, that's most often on a computer or a phone. And if you just stop where you want the audio to begin for that clip, then the player will usually show you the time. If you were wise and already have your audio files from the audiobook production, well done. If you're someone who enjoys playing with technology, then you can certainly use those audio files to do it yourself in one of these ways. You could take the audio and clip it into audio clips using a free program like Audacity, if you want to work just with the audio initially. If you want to do the whole movie assembly, which could be, again, as simple as your book cover and your audio clip, doesn't have to be super fancy. But you can use a free program, something like iMovie, that will allow you to assemble audio and visuals in a pretty simple, intuitive program. And one of the other things about those programs is there are lots of video tutorials for all the things you want to do if you go hunting on YouTube, for example. Now, if you are not into that whole playing with technology scene, or maybe you like it but are just really too busy to be messing around with that, then it is quite easy to find somebody that you can hire to do that for you. These days, most of us who have kids, if they're old enough to be doing that sort of thing, they can be a great resource for putting together simple videos for you. You can also look on a place like Upwork, which is a platform where you can hire freelancers to do specific jobs. You can also turn to a company like ours, Pro Audio Voices. We provide this service whether you have had your audiobook produced with us or not. Now, if you don't have your audio files and you are not still connected with whoever produced them for you, you can usually go into your account with your digital distributor like Authors Republic or ACX and download those files from there. Now, I always recommend, strongly, highly recommend, that when you have an audiobook produced, please be sure to get and save on a backup drive somewhere all those audio and cover image files. Those are really valuable assets, and you want to keep track of them just like you want to keep track of your manuscript. If, for example, you work with a hybrid publisher, nothing wrong with that. But when you do, make sure that if they're doing an editing process for you and you have a final approved manuscript, please make sure you get a copy of that rather than just having them publish it and then you only are left with the previous unedited version except for what you could purchase online. Then you've lost access to a really important piece of content that you own. So always make sure that you keep a copy of your manuscript, the most up-to-date version, and always get copies of your audio files and all of your cover images for any of your formats. Ideally, you want to keep them all in one place so that your marketing assets are nicely organized. Marketing is so much easier when you keep your assets organized. It is one of the reasons that in our audiobook marketing program, we provide the marketing workshop, which is basically an online storage space where you can keep all of your marketing assets in one place, organized by subfolders so that everything is where you can find it and you can easily use it. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for being with me. I hope that you will get your audiobook files and make some audiograms or reach out to us at Pro Audio Voices if you need some help. We're always there for you. Thanks again. Thanks for joining us for Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. Please take a moment to subscribe at audiobookconnection.com. The podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Learn more at proaudiovoices.com. Again, thanks for being with us, and please join us next week.